Hey, welcome back to Arithmetic with Ron. Today we are going to tackle the problem of adding and subtracting positive and negative numbers. And I'm going to show you how to do this with the number line. Go ahead and hit subscribe and enjoy the video. Let's begin today's lesson with a quick review of what a number line is. It's a line that goes in both directions forever. We usually put 0 in the middle, and the right-hand side is the positive side, okay? So from here this way is the positive side, and from 0 to the left is the negative side. It's also important to know that when you are moving in this direction, you're moving in the positive direction, and that is add. So adding is positive and you move to the right, and subtracting or take away is moving to the left. And we can put points on this number line, like 3, or how about 10? And then if we have a negative number, we would come over here. Maybe this is -4 and -11. And so what you can see is that the larger your numbers get going in the positive direction, the further to the right, and the smaller your numbers get, meaning more negative, the further you move to the left. Let's begin adding some simple numbers together, and we will see how we can use the number line to help. Let's go ahead and find 3. And then what we're going to do, remember that when we add, we move to the right. How far do we move? We move 4 units. So if I go from 3 and I go 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm going to be at the point 7. I started at 3. And because I'm adding, I'm moving to the right. How far? 4 units. 3 plus 4 is 7. So 3 and 4 units this way gets me out to 7 on the number line. I can do a similar problem, but let's change one thing. And let's say 3 minus 4. Well, I'm still going to start here at positive 3. This is where I start on the number line. But remember that we said that subtraction or takeaway means that we're going to move to the left. How far are we going to move? We're going to move 4 units. So I started at 3 and I moved to the left because it's subtraction, and I moved 4 units. And if I count that out, from 3 I'm going to count 4 spaces and I get 2, 1, 0, -1. There's a pattern here that we can look at. 3 plus 4 is 7, and 3 minus 4 is -1. In each of these examples, this is where we start on the number line, the first number. This is what direction and how far. So we moved 4 units to the right because we're adding. And down here, we moved 4 units to the left because we're subtracting. And the equals is where we landed on the number line. We landed on 7, and here we landed on -1. So you can look at these problems and say, where do I start on the number line? Which direction do I go and how far? And then my answer is going to be where I land. Where do I start? How far do I go, and in which direction? And where do I land? What if I do -3 minus 4? Let's use the same pattern that we developed. We're going to start with -3 on the number line. Okay? But now it says -4. That means I need to move 4 units in the minus direction. Okay? If I start at -3 and then I move 4 units this way, I'm going to be down here at -7. Because I started negative at -3, and then subtraction said move this way 4 units. All right? And how about one more? Let's do -3, but now we're going to add 4. And what is that going to equal? Well, again, we're going to start at the beginning, -3 on the number line. But this says to add 4, which means move 4 units to the right. And if I do that, I'm going to end up at +1. Let's go ahead and add a new element to the problems that we're working on. And let's try a problem like this. 3 plus, most people read this negative 4. They'll say 3 plus negative 4. And while that's not wrong, what I want to encourage you to do is to think of this as not negative 4, but as the opposite of 4. That little symbol right there means the opposite of 4. Now let's talk about what that means. If you are walking down the street and you're going this way to the right, and someone says, go the opposite direction, you're going to turn around and you're going to go this way. Okay, if you're walking down the sidewalk, or let's say that you're driving down the road and you're going down the road and someone says, oh, we need to go the opposite direction, you're going to turn around and go back the way you came from. And so this little opposite symbol right here, we're going to see how to use that. 3 is a positive, so we're going to start out here at positive 3. And it says add, which means we're going to move to the right. But we're not going to move 4, we're going to move the opposite of 4. If I moved 4, it would be this way. But what I need is the opposite of 4. So I'm going to move 4 units, but in the opposite direction. Okay? Let me go ahead and erase this part quick. And what we can see there is this looks a lot like the problem that we had over here. Here we wrote 3 minus 4 equals negative 1. Okay? But here we started at 3. We're supposed to move to the right, but not 4 units, the opposite. 4 units would have been to the right, but this opposite says change directions, go the other way. And we're still going to end up at negative 1. So what we see here is that 3 plus the opposite of 4 is the same as 3 minus 4, which is negative 1. How about for the next one, we try negative 3 plus the opposite of 4? Well, we're going to start at negative 3, so let's find negative 3 on our number line. And then add would have us move to the right, but we're not going to move to the right 4 units because that opposite sign says change directions. So instead of moving 4 to the right, we're going to go the opposite, and we're going to move 4 to the left. Okay? And that's going to land us down here again at negative 7. So this problem looks like this problem. Negative 3 minus 4 equals negative 7. All right, the next one we're going to do is we'll have another little bit of a twist here. Now we're going to do the 2 negatives in a row. This says 3, take away the opposite of 4. Okay, so how do we do this? We start at the beginning. This is a positive 3, so we go find it on the number line. Take away means move this direction. Okay, how far? Well, we would move 4, but now this says opposite. If this said 3 minus 4, we would start at 3, and take away means move this way 4 units. But this says take away, move this direction, but now this opposite sign is going to change the direction, so we're going to end up moving 4 units to the right, like this. We're going to end up out here at positive 7. Okay, see the difference there? This says 3, take away 4, so I would start at 3 and take away 4. This says 3, take away the opposite of 4. So we were going to go in this direction because of the takeaway sign, but then this opposite changed us the other direction. And so we ended up with 3 plus 4 equals 7. For the final example, I'm going to move this out of the way here so we have some space. We are going to do the same problem, but we're going to put that negative 3 out there. So we now have negative 3 minus, or take away, the opposite of 4. Okay? we're going to follow the same pattern. We're starting with -3, which means we're back here. This is where we start. And then take away means to go this direction, and we would go that direction 4 units, except this has an opposite. That's going to change the direction, and we're going to go this way 4 units. Okay, and so we will end up back here at +1. -3, take away the opposite of 4, is really -3 plus 4, which is 1. Why did I say -3 plus 4? Look at the direction of my arrow. It's moving in the positive direction. So when you subtract or take away, but then you have an opposite, they're going to flip each other. We were going this way because that's what the takeaway sign said, but the opposite said turn directions and go this way, and now my arrow is moving in the positive direction. Let's go ahead and make a little bit more space here and summarize what we have learned. What I'm going to do is draw a box, and you can put any number in this box that you want to. And if I say plus the opposite of another number, this means any number plus the opposite of another number, well, we can rewrite this a little bit simpler as a number, take away the other, okay? And we saw this example up here where we had 3 plus the opposite, a number plus its opposite, is the same as the two numbers with the subtraction sign in between, okay? So that's the first thing we want to remember. If you have a number plus the opposite of another number, you can rewrite that as the first number, take away the second number. The second thing that we want to remember is when we have those pesky double negatives together. So I'm going to go like this and say a number minus the opposite of another number can be rewritten as a number plus the other number, okay? And we saw this up here where we had 3, take away the opposite of 4, and we saw that because of the direction of the arrow, it really turned out to be these two numbers added together. Okay, and that's what we've got down here. So if you will remember those two things, then you can always rewrite these kinds of problems where we have the double negative, or if we're adding the opposite, you can always write them a little bit more simple, like we've done here, and then you can just use the number line to quickly solve. One last example, all of the problems that we've been doing are simply one number minus another. I'm actually going to redo this number line because I'm going to make up a problem here that will help us understand that you can use more than 1 or 2 or 3 numbers and the number line. Okay, so we've got arrows on a number line, and we're going to put 0 here. This is the negative side. This is the positive side. When we add, we move to the right. When we subtract or take away, we move to the left. Now let's try a problem like this. What is -3 plus 5 minus a -2 minus 10 plus 8, and then we're going to add at the end, we're going to add the opposite of 1. All right, what is all that mess right there? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and remember the 2 rules that we learned. The first one is, what if I have 2 of the negatives in a row? I can rewrite that as plus. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite under here -3 plus 5. And these double negatives are going to turn plus. Okay, we saw that that works up here in this example. You can look at the number line and review how we did that. Okay, now I'm going to minus 10, add 8, and then if we have plus the opposite of a number, we saw that up here. Plus the opposite is just going to be those two numbers subtracted. So I'm really going to have 8 minus 1. All right? This is the new simplified problem. And now let's go ahead and do this. If I start at the beginning, I'm at -3. Okay, then I'm going to add 5. Well, that's going to put me over here at 2. Okay, -3, and if I count 5 units, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. Then from there, I'm going to add 2 more. So I'm going to go like this, and now I'm at 4. 2 plus 2 more units is 4. Let's go ahead and do the next one, which is subtracting 10. Subtracting is moving this way. So let's go ahead and go this direction 10 units. Well, 4 units would get us back to 0, which would leave 6 units left over. So this is going to drop us all the way down here at -6. From 4 to 0 was 4 units, and 6 more gets us to -6. 4 plus 6 is 10. 10 in this direction. Then we're going to add 8. So from here, we're going to go back this direction because adding is positive. It's to the right, okay? And we're going to go 8 units. 6 units is going to get us to 0, and 2 more units gets us to 8. So we're actually going to end up right back here at 2, and then the final step is -1. And so there we are. All of this adds up to a +1. And by the way, these simplification steps that I did, you wouldn't have to have done that. You could have started at -3, added 5, and then said from there, I have to subtract, but wait a minute, this is an opposite 2, so it's going to flip. And now I'm going to go this way. And the same thing when you added 8, then the next step would be plus the opposite of 1. You would have said plus is this way, but that opposite means I'm actually going to go 1 unit this direction. So today we saw how the number line is a really useful tool for helping us to add and subtract both positive and negative numbers. Go ahead and leave a comment and let me know, were these examples helpful to you, or are there other problems that you'd like to see? Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.